Welcome back, wonderful people. This is Bryan and Dragons. Welcome to Let's DM with Bryan and Dragons. So we are in the process of our naming extravaganza. In this episode, we're going to go through and we're going to name all of our towns. We're going to name all of our geographic features. And we're going to do it very quickly in under 20 minutes, give or take. This video is not going to be 20 minutes long. I'm not going to subject you to sitting through watching me choose names. However, I do want to at least take you through the process of how I go about selecting the names and how I put them actually onto my maps if you are using Inkarnate and you're following along. So why don't we just dive right on in? Let's save the exposition for the stuff that matters. So you will see here we are in Inkarnate. We are in our world of Red Tree. I hope you have your own land that you've created that has its own name. We're going to turn off the grid for this. I was checking distances earlier. In case you were wondering, I do try to figure out about how far the points are to one another. So I do like to use these grids. Generally, across is a 1 day of traveling from any point. So, for example, to get from this town to this town is going to be, 2.5 days, give or take, right? Just in case you're wondering. So, realistically, to get from one far end of the map to, we'll say, the other far end, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. It's about a 2-week journey across this continent, which for the size of the campaign we're running, which is a small to medium campaign, maybe something that should take a year to run, that's pretty reasonable. 2 weeks to get all the way across, especially, with interactions, things happening. That feels like a decent amount of time. If it took 2 years to get across this place, you're going to be in campaign for quite a long time. There's just going to be a lot of traveling. And traveling, it serves its purpose, but it can be overused. Anywho, so we are in Inkarnate. We're going to go to the stamp tool. We are going to open our catalog and we're going to scroll down about 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to the frames and labels section. We are under Fantasy World, the Fantasy World heading over here on the left-hand side, and that's where we're going to find the frames and labels. I like this banner for my banners for my cities. So I'm going to go ahead and place these banners around at each one of my cities. We're probably going to adjust the size slightly later, but for now, we're going to pop in our banners. Now, I do understand that the layering of these banners leaves a bit to be desired. I'm going to show you how to change that layering real fast. When we had one, there they are, these two. So if you just click on the banner, you can find the layer sections here under the stamp options. It looks like two squares kind of stacked on top of each other, which makes sense because they're layers. If you just turn it all the way to the top, then it will pop to the top of the layer, which the banners of a map should be the top layer. And you can do that with anything if you want to add some layered effects to your maps. Anywho, so we have our cities ready to be named. All we have to do is just add text over here with the text tool. We're going to make it a little bit smaller. And one thing that I do suggest, if you're using the not super high resolution mode in Inkarnate, which Inkarnate has, I want to say 3 or 4 different resolution scales. You can go all the way up to 4K resolution, 2K. If you're trying to export 4K maps and they're big and pretty complicated, it can be pretty tough on a machine. It doesn't look like much, but to be able to import like full resolution maps onto your computer, you're gonna have to have a decent PC if you want it to be done any reasonable time. So I decided that we are going to do this in kind of a lower resolution just to cater to everybody. You know, everybody has different PC setups and can afford different PC setups. But what I would say to you is, if you are doing the lower resolution maps, one thing about the text is it can just kind of get a little bit blurry. So what I would suggest to you is this. Go here to the outline section, and we're going to click here, and we are going to, one, make sure that it's like black, and then we're going to change this. You see how we can change the thickness of the outline? It makes it way easier to read and looks as if it's higher resolution. So we're going to turn it up to, say, like 2.5. Feels good. You can also change the different types of shadows, intensity, those kind of things. So I just raised the intensity up, and now look how much easier that is to read, even though we're on a lower resolution map. And we can even make it smaller, and it's still relatively easy to read. Now, if that looks too intense, that's okay, and I know that it's not exactly perfectly aligned. I'm going to go through and do that later when I'm not on your time and your dime. I'll go through and realign everything. So let's go ahead and switch on over to Fantasy Name Generator. Fantasy Name Generator is where I get the names for literally everything in my homebrew campaigns. Every city, every tavern, almost every NPC, all of it comes from fantasy name generators. They can generate fantasy names for virtually anything. For example, we want city names. Let's go ahead and put in city names. It'll give us the opportunity. We can do cities, we can do towns, harbor names, elven cities, winter towns. We're just going to go with basic good old-fashioned city names, and it will give you these randomly generated city names. I think 10? Yeah, it gives you 10. And you can just keep clicking as much as you want. It's just going to create all kinds of names, hundreds of names, thousands of names, just for you. I have never seen a repeat in these names that I can remember, at least. So we're going to go through and just grab one of these names. Let's see. Find one that just sort of catches our eye. Blork. No, I don't want a city named Blork. Brand. I like that. I like Brand. And I'm imagining this kind of like almost like a Wild West town, kind of no nonsense, heavy industrial, smitheries, maybe dusty. I don't know. That's just what I'm picturing in Brand. Anywho, we'll go ahead and pop back over to Inkarnate. And we need to choose one of these cities to be Brand. And I have decided that it is going to be this town here on the far right hand side. So we're going to grab this text. We'll just add another one. So we're just going to click on text, and it's going to be able to drop over there, and we're going to type on in Brand. And there we go. It's just that easy. Now we have a town of Brand. To also show you kind of generally how I do my mountains, forest, things like that, I don't put banners because you can't have an entire map completely covered in banners. So instead I just write the text over. So why don't we find a forest name? Click on forest name generators. The foolish grassland, thicket, no. Detailed wood, cloud, frog, consquirrel. Don't like any of those. Cloud, squirrel, woodland. We might have just seen a repeat. I might have put my my foot right in my mouth. Grass links. Get down in the comments if that was a repeat, and tell me how badly I put my foot in my mouth. Let's do the masked deer woods. Okay, so we're gonna go back to Inkarnate, and we are going to add some text, and we are going to call this the masked deer woodland. Now, when I just type text over, one, I want to give it a slight curve so that it matches the flow of whatever this geographical feature is. And each geographical feature is going to have a different flow. Like these mountains are probably going to go, obviously they go north to south, so I want the text to go north to south. So everything sort of has its position it fits in. And also, we are going to change the fill color to green to signify that this is a forest. Generally, I allow my mountains to be orangish brown. Swamps are black, obviously. Um, Islands are blue. Pretty simple, pretty basic stuff. So to save you just a spot of time, I'm going to go through and add all of these names and then pop back in and show you what we have created. We'll see you here on the other side. All right, welcome back. We have officially finished naming everything in our homebrew world, or at least all of the important pieces. Once again, all of these names have come from fantasynamegenerator.com. Every single one of them. So just kind of taking you through what the world of Red Tree looks like. We have the capital of Jawset and its neighboring lower socioeconomic region, Creston. You have Leicester and Brand as the two cities to round out this small region. We've got the Slumbering Pinnacle as the mountain range that sits adjacent to this region. If we travel to the south, you've got the towns of Dragos and the Zusa that sit on the edge of the Royal Hair Wilds, which leads into the Thirsty Wild and the Covenrath chain of islands down here. Moving over to the west side, the western region of this small continent, we have the towns of Osland, Promont, and Glomgas, respectively, sitting near the forests of the, the Grimset Forest and the Masked Deer Woodlands, as well as Osland being just north of the Beverjuice Peaks. Down south here, north of Glomgas, we've got the Decayed Rise, as well as the Forbidden Bog, and the Raging Precipice, the volcano down at the far southwest corner of the map. So it's just that easy. I think it took us probably less than 20 minutes to be able to find good, solid names for all of these geographic features. I think I am going to change the Thirsty Wild and the Royal Hair Wilds. I don't love that they both have wild in the name. One of those is going to change, but I'm going to give it some thought over the next few days. Thank you for joining today. Of course, we always appreciate your patronage. We appreciate your viewing. If you liked this content, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Let me know what kind of questions you might have, or what sort of content you would like. Next week, we are going to start the hard work. Next week, we're going to start the real stuff. We are going to begin building out all of our cities. We're going to start and go one by one. We're going to figure out about how big they are, and we're going to add shops. We're going to add taverns. We're going to add interesting shops, and we're going to add rumors. And we're going to go town to town to town until we've built out every city, which is probably going to take a number of episodes, lest we have one 5-hour-long video, which that's going to be too much for all of us. So once again, I am Bryan and Dragons. This is Let's DM. Thank you for joining. Go forth and homebrew.